All right, we're live, Michelle. Hello.
I
How are you today?
I just feel like you blew my mind with all this technology. I feel like I'm in the Matrix or something. As somebody
You
who hasn't
are.
been doing a lot of technology lately.
You're in Maisha's matrix of
hmm
reality. Yeah.
The myistic Maisha.
Myistic, right? Hey, Jeanette, thanks for tuning in on Substack. Let us know if you can't hear us. So we're here today, Michelle, to have a conversation about politics. Michelle, let's tell the folk. Well, how do we know each other? Let's start
Yes.
there.
I always love telling this story, and I was just reflecting on this again the other day for some reason. So back in 2020, after George Floyd's murder, I was trying to do all of the things to raise my own consciousness about how I was participating in systems of oppression that I had not previously been aware of. And so I took an unconscious bias test, which really flipped me out because I thought, I'm such a good white person. I've always been such a good white person. This is telling me I'm not a good white person. Like, what's going on? So started just following all the Black educators, reading all of the books on racism and oppression and privilege and all the things, and was really starting to burn out and experience a lot of shame and guilt, and felt like I was just sort of stymied in my journey and the growth that I wanted to have. And then I found your book, Heal Your Way Forward. I honestly don't even remember how I found it. It probably came up in an algorithm. And I devoured it probably in a few days, like read through it, highlighted it, took notes very quickly. And in one of the chapters, you mentioned niching down your journey,
Mm-hmm.
meaning don't do every single anti-racist thing. Don't follow every single, like, stop trying to be like the good white person, right? And you
Yeah.
really, in that book, I think invited me to remember my humanity and that I am a good person, and that it gets to be all the things. I get
Yeah.
to both face my racist conditioning and also heal through it. And so anyway, I decided to niche down with you for whatever you recommended, 90 days or whatever it was, and thought I'll follow Maisha for a while and then I'll move on. And that was, 5 years ago. So
Oh, okay. Well, 5 years. It's so interesting, right? Because I'm so grateful that you're part of the journey still, and we've actually built like a friendship. Because one of the things that we practice is like this work thrives when we have relationships. So it's not just like Michelle doesn't see me as like this Black anti-racism teacher. I mean, of course, everyone does the fangirl, everyone does the oh my god, and you're just like, yep, I'm just like you. But it's just been really beautiful to just build friendships over time and not just kind of be like the expert, but also have relationships with folk. It's kind of countercultural, right? Because I don't, one thing about me, and I know you know this, Michelle, I'm not trying to be the guru. I don't want to be y'all's leader. We literally try to practice doing this work in relationship, and it's messy and it's part of the journey, you know?
yeah, yeah. I think, and that's, I don't know if we were talking about this, or I don't know. I can't remember from one day to the next what I hear where and who I say to what I say to who. Like, anyway, over the last couple of days, I was thinking about that, how that's kind of the test of true relationship, is being able to have conversations that not only challenge you, but that cause us to think, and that can be open and honest. And I mean, I don't think you and I have ever actually had a conversation that felt uncomfortable. And I know that, like, if we had to, we would. Like, just so, yeah, I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah. We've never had to, but I think we're both very direct with each other.
Yeah.
Because it's like, what other way is there to be?
Mm-hmm.
And even there's been times where like we've just kind of coached each other, through the journey. So that's why I say like there's a difference. This is why I don't have a Patreon, Michelle, because if I had a Patreon, there's no way I could build real relationships. It's just me being like put on this platform as the expert. And for me and my work, it's not about being the expert. It's really about like, can we be in a relationship? Can we disagree? What happens when we do disagree? What does that look like? Do we keep going or do we cancel each other? So it's really just a good practice of this journey that we're both on around feeling forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Which I think is why this conversation today was so exciting for me, because for folks who don't know, and like if you have not heard of this yet, we invite you to join. Maisha started a no complaint challenge and on Signal. And so we were talking in that challenge the other day. I don't even know how it came up. Something about politics or something came up. And I said something, you said something like, this is why I don't talk about politics. And I said, oh, well, everything is political. Like, and so that's what started this like
Yeah.
back and forth. And we're like, let's just hop on a live and let's just talk about it. So
Yeah. Yep. So today's topic is everything is political. Because it is.
Yep.
So everything is political, right? We know that all this work that we are working for is political, and it's towards individual and collective liberation. With my work, this is kind of how it started. I don't focus on politics. I focus on the people. And I know the politics are what drive, but as someone with like my lived experience, for me, the government's been doing what it's been doing forever. And while I guess my political participation is focusing on the people and really telling the people, like, we're focusing on this system that's functioning the way it's meant to function. Like, it's meant to oppress us. It's meant for us to codepend on it. What does it look like to interdepend with each other and do our individual work, our relational work, and then move to the system? Because I just don't see these politicians do anything for the people. They promise and then they get bought out. But tell me more about what you're thinking, Michelle, as form of like everything being political.
I love this. I made notes today. Lawyer Michelle made notes to like organize my thoughts. But I actually want to back up a little bit, because I was thinking about this over the course of our text messages the other day. I would love to hear how you define politics. What does politics mean for you?
I'm so busy not thinking about it. Honestly, I don't think anything about politics, so I don't have a definition. If I were to make one up right now, it would be a bunch of people that we vote for in political power to make decisions on behalf of the people, to create policies and laws that support the betterment of the country and the country's people. That's how serious I am about I vote because I know it's important. I participate in what's local, but I'm just not in it like that.
Yeah. So a couple of things. And I think one of the reasons I was getting so lit up about having this conversation is because a while back, I think before the elections, actually, I had posted something back when I was actually doing social media, posted something to Gen Xers, inviting them to embrace the notion that everything is political, and kind of explaining that a little bit more. And I want to give a shout out, first of all, because A, I'm a lawyer and always believe in citing my sources, and B, because you have encouraged us to always like cite our sources, right? That concept of everything is political is not something I created. It's something I heard several years ago from a podcaster author named Rob Bell. He actually did a podcast episode on how everything is spiritual. And he was also talking about how everything is political. So that concept I learned from him. And since then I've sort of explored it on my own. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the first thing, is that I at least have noticed and not even so much, it's gotten exacerbated over the last 10 or so years. But even before that, a lot of people understandably have a knee-jerk reaction to talking about politics. And there's a lot of reasons for that. So I'm not going to presume what somebody's reasons are. Some of the reasons that I've observed are that people don't like the discomfort of talking about, quote, political issues. People don't want to be judged for their own beliefs. People don't want to, rock the boat in their families or at the Thanksgiving table or whatever it is. So there's a lot that goes into that. And all of that ends up being some kind of resistance, which I'll want to come back and talk about, to politics. And so I think there's several seeds that I kind of want to plant here today through this conversation. And the first one is that how can we reframe our definition or lack thereof, or our perspective on what is, quote, politics, so that we can actually have conversations that are life affirming and connecting. And so the reason I asked you about your definition of politics is that you and I both love etymology. And so I got very curious about what is the etymology of politics. So can I read you what I learned about the etymology of politics?
Yeah.
So it seems that the word politic or politics has been traced all the way back to 4th century BC. It's 4th century, whatever the hell that BC, I don't even know, 4th century, to Aristotle's book Politica or Politica. I'm not quite sure how it's pronounced. And so according to the I don't know how you pronounce it, Etymology Online website, here's how they define politics, kind of based on how Aristotle used it back in the 4th century, which is politics is the science of good sense applied to public affairs, and as those are forever changing, what is wisdom today would be folly and perhaps ruin tomorrow. Politics is not a science so much as it is a business, because it can't have fixed principles from which a wise man would never swerve. So basically, it's saying that politics needs to be flexible. Mm-hmm. It's not like an exact science. It has to be something that adapts to the times. And the thing that I love about that etymological definition is how it talks about it's the science or business, whatever you want to call it, of good sense applied to public affairs. Now, that does not sound to me at all like what we have today, or what people think of when they think of politics. They think of anything but good sense.
And what's interesting is I want to share something that Tanya just shared on Instagram. And she said, I'm going to put it on the screen so you can see it too. I want you to kind of read what she said.
Where am I? I'm not like, where am I looking? What am I looking at?
In a second. Tanya says, listening to you both now, it seems like our basic humanity has been politicized without our participation or consent. And I thought that, that's kind of, I feel that. And I just want to share from the standpoint of my experience as a Black woman in liberation spaces. The system of politics never worked for me or my people. That's why the Black Panthers were explicit in naming that the U.S. politics were not designed for Black liberation. That's why they made their 10-point program, because they saw that voting was insufficient without revolutionary change, which is something I know you want to bring up later. We also had bell hooks, who often criticized the seduction of assimilation into U.S. political life. So bell hooks talked a lot in the books Killing Rage and Ain't I a Woman. She wrote that Black people could not trust the U.S. politics to save them because it's grounded in white supremacist capitalist patriarchy. And this is why in 2020, so many of us were like, these politics are not going to save us. Now, this is not saying don't run for office, don't vote for people that you know can help make change in the community, or at least try to vote for people who can help make revolutionary change. You know what I mean? But even like our political system is rooted in white supremacy and capitalism and patriarchy. And so to say everything is political is to actually say that everything is rooted in whiteness. And that actually even supports the idea of addiction to whiteness. Because one thing I'm curious of, and Tanya actually asks us too, like, well, when we say that definition says sense, well, then I start thinking of ableism, because what is sense making to someone who may have a brain injury, may be disabled? Who gets to determine sense? Is that the founding fathers' definition around the word usage and etymology? So that's why my brain is like in a totally different direction now. But for Black struggle, like, these politics are not saving Black people. It may be none of us. So I I'm really struggling with this idea of like, yes, everything is political, but when you look at Black liberation and pro-Black solidarity from people who've never gotten reparations, and the government don't want to give it to us. Like, I'm doing what I know how to do as a Black woman, which is show up with collective community care and individual like evolution and support. Because how can we trust? Like, we've seen it with even, I can't think of her name, Cortez, Alexandria
Mhm.
Like, who was
AOC.
getting money from anyway? And it's like, you just voted to send missiles and rifles to. So that's what I'm saying. We get these revolutionary political folk in, and then they seem to accept a few of the black folk. They seem to get persuaded by money. And it's just like, yeah, I can like work with folk on it, which may still be political for some. It could still be political, the work that I do, but I think my work is more revolutionary than political. I would like to argue.
Yeah. And there's so many threads there that I want to pull on. So let me try and consolidate my thoughts. First of all, I absolutely hear everything you're saying. And I think that actually gets to the root of when you're talking about how politics as it exists in this country, and I'm just focusing on America because I barely know American politics, so I sure as shit don't know other countries' politics. So just how it exists in America with a two-party system
Yep.
has not supported Black people's liberation in their journeys, right?
Yep.
So I definitely hear that. And I think that actually points to what the problem is with how we have labeled politics in this country. Now, I'm not a history major. I do not pretend to know the history of a lot of things, including the history of politics in this country. What I do roughly know is that the white dudes who founded this country did not intend there to be a two-party system. It ended up working out that way during Washington's first term, and that's been kind of what we've been stuck with now for the last several centuries. All of that, I believe, gets away from sort of the inherent intention of quote politics to actually serve the public. And so that's kind of the first point, is that we've lost the plot in America with a two-party system. I'm not saying I don't know what the fix to that is. I don't know. I'm not giving.
I can agree.
I don't know what that answer is.
With the two-party system. Yeah. I can see there.
Yeah. So we've lost the thread in terms of applying the label of politics. And what has troubled me about how we use that label politics is that it's hindered and it's silenced our conversation about what is good. And I'm just going to like common sense, and that's going to be different for everybody, right? But I don't know what a better term is, like just decency, neighborly, like whatever, insert whatever word that feels like a compassionate, connecting way of being in society for me. To me, that's what politics is, would have been originally and should still be today. So the way we have now labeled politics, especially on two sides, sometimes a third, is that it's not only binary, but it's just on a spectrum. And from my mindfulness background, I don't believe in binary. I believe that everything is connected and everything is one, and that when we get in trouble by labeling things as binary, as dueling. So when I say that everything is political, what I mean is that the systems that you talk about, for example, systems are made up of individuals, of people.
Yeah.
So it's a whole bunch of people that make up the governmental system, the racist system, the white privilege system, the caste system, the economy system. Like, people make up all of these systems. So the systems are a conglomeration of people, of individuals. No person in any system is a monolith. Everybody is different.
Yeah.
Even if there are basic values, talking points, whatever that people can agree on, everybody is different. What politics has done, and by labeling people as blue or red or green or whatever color on the political spectrum people want to be, or nothing, people who claim to be apolitical, is that it has assigned particular values and messaging and made people a monolith, despite that everybody is different. So that's the kind of the first point of awareness that I want people to start thinking about, is how the labels we have created through our political parties actually take away people's humanity, because it takes away our ability to be different. You know, if I say I'm a liberal, that means a list of things to somebody, and that may or may not be true.
I was actually thinking about, like, not even just the label of politics, it's the labels, period. Everything is classified and
Yeah.
labeled in the white
Yeah.
supremacy system.
Yeah.
So even the race is socially constructed. So then we have to think about the social construct of politics. Why was politics constructed? What was its intention? And it's still it's rooted in white supremacy. Like the more you talk, the more I'm just hearing like
Mhm.
white supremacy, because
And caste, like it, and it caste is like the
and
root of the political parties was to let the elite
yep,
speak for everybody else.
yeah,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So that's the first thing, is that I really want people to start thinking about how by labeling everybody by their politics, we take away people's humanity and their
yeah,
individuality.
yep,
The second thing is, and the reason why I say that everything is political is because it sucks. And it's the system that we have. And as you always say, we want to learn to be in the system and not of the system. Right.
mhm,
So yeah, we have the political system that we have. Will that change in the future? I don't know. Like if people want to change it, great. That's awesome. But it's what we have right now.
yeah,
In that system of politics, we have governmental agencies, all the way from the federal level, all the way down to your local HOA. Agencies, bodies, organizations that make the policies, the rules, and the laws
yep,
that the rest of us in that system are encouraged to follow, made to follow, punished if we don't follow, whatever it might be. So when I say that everything is political, I mean, did you use water today? Did you use electricity today? Did you drive a car? Did you buy groceries? Did you use social media? Did you watch TV? Or did you go off grid and live in the mountains in a cabin in the middle of nowhere? All of those are impacted by, informed by, governed by, or touched by these systems of
yeah,
politics and government. So even when people say, I'm not voting, I'm not political, I'm not going to talk about political issues, blah, 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 the act of not voting, the act of not talking about politics is a political action. So I really want us to get out of that duality of it's politics or no politics, right? Like it's because it is all the system that we're swimming in right now.
yeah. It's interesting hearing like your conviction of like you really want us to get out of it's either politics or no politics. What sparks my curiosity is let people be in choice if they want to be in politics or not in politics.
Well, and yes, I believe that. And what I'm saying is that it's a false choice.
Huh.
That if we think we're not in politics, that in and of itself is a political action. It's a statement that we are making against the system, right? So it is still an action or reaction that's informed by the system of politics.
Huh.
So that's what I'm talking. I'm not talking about taking away people's choice. I'm not criticizing. I don't.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't care if people want to talk about politics or not. I'm not somebody who runs around talking all the time about quote unquote political issues. The reason I'm wanting to bring all of this to our level of awareness is coming back to what I said earlier. It is disconnecting us from ourselves and from each other. So when we start to label people as a monolith because you're a Republican, so you believe in XYZ,
Yeah.
you're a Democrat, you believe in ABC, or you're nothing, so you don't believe in anything, all of those are labels. And what that does again is disconnect and dehumanize us.
Yeah.
When we label somebody or something, we do that because we as humans like certainty.
Exactly.
We don't like uncertainty. We don't like gray areas. We like to know what camp do you fall in so that I can figure out how to relate to you or not relate to you. Yeah. And I get that. That feels like a safety issue for a lot of people. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm not criticizing that. I want us to start being aware of like why we do these things. We like to label people because we like certainty.
Yep.
And in creating those labels, we're not actually seeing the full human, and therefore we're not fully connecting to the human.
Right.
So all of that, again, like through my mindfulness meditation lens, creates disconnection because it creates an othering. So then it's always like, it's the other party. It's the other people who talk about politics.
It's everybody. Oh, interesting. I think I'm following where you're going, what you're putting down. I might not be picking it up.
The load I'm dropping?
It's really fascinating to me just because I don't consider myself a political person. Um,
So tell
yeah,
me more about when you say that, what does that mean, that you don't consider yourself a
I don't know.
political
I
person?
guess just this conversation is fascinating to me. Just hearing, I'm hearing like how labels keep us essentially segregated because we can like pick and choose what group we want to belong to or what we don't want to belong to, and that's still a political act. Yeah, I'm sitting with what I'm trying to say because I can hear it in my head. I'm just not connecting the words. That's all.
So let me pull a couple other threads and see if that helps. So when we create that disconnection to other people because of how we've labeled them and how we label ourselves, that does a couple of things. The first thing is it creates resistance. And I've shared this equation before in other contexts. I share it all the time. It's a mindfulness meditation equation that was developed by a Buddhist monk named Shinzen Young. And he said that suffering equals pain times resistance.
I'm back.
Okay, what do you want to say? Go ahead.
I got it now. No. Everything is political. Yeah, no. I just had to like turn my brain. My brain is not on. It is. And then
Do you want to share something about that?
No, just like Audre Lorde talks about the personal is political, and she's talking about how like our bodies, our desires, our relationships are never separated from structures. Bell Hooks emphasized that domination is political and that love and community care are political strategies of resistance, right? And then we have the Black Panthers insisted that politics showed up in relationships, food, healthcare, policing. So yeah, no. I'm back now.
Yeah.
Like
I love those connections.
Politics. Yeah. I just need to turn my brain on.
Yeah.
Politics is not like abstract, but I guess because I don't necessarily be like, kill your way forward political resistance. Like I'm not using that language, but like now that I got some memory recall around like the Black Panthers, Audre Lorde, Bell Hooks, I'm like, okay, I get what we're saying now. I'm back. I'm here. Keep going.
Yep. And I love the Audre Lorde reference because in my experience, I feel that feels true for me because the particulars are in the larger scheme, like the specifics are in the grander scheme of things. Like, so it is all connected. And so when we back to that equation of suffering equals pain times resistance, when we are saying, I'm not going to talk about politics, again, understandable. And I'll talk about that in a minute, like reasons why some folks may not want to talk about politics and how we can maybe put a different perspective on that. But when we're ignoring politics, same as if we're ignoring liberation, if we're ignoring racism, if we're ignoring economic oppression, whatever it is that we want to turn a blind eye to, that actually is a form of resistance. Resistance isn't just fighting against or pushing against something. Resistance is also denying or suppressing or ignoring something. So it's a little more subtle. But when we say, I don't want to talk about politics, it's a subtle bit of resistance that disconnects us from ourselves and from each other. And I'm going to come back to that. And it creates that kind of resistance that actually creates more suffering for ourselves and then for other people too. So the reason that I want to help kind of reframe and it's like, let's just get over what we call it. Like, just stop fucking saying it's politics. It's everything.
Yeah. I think I was actually just gonna interject just for a second. Mm-hmm. It's like, maybe people aren't aware of what, like you said at the top, like the definition of politics is and what it actually means. And maybe it's deeper than even politics. The more we talk, the more I'm like, the person is political, and also it's not. It's the way in which we're using politics to justify dehumanization. Yes. It is the way in which we're using politics to justify dehumanization.
Yep. And that's exactly it. The problem is not politics. The problem is our discomfort with that word and what the word has come to mean. And the result is that then we don't talk about politics, i.e., sorry, that's lawyer brain coming out. In other words, we don't talk about politics, which means we don't talk about the things that are important to us and that are important to other people. So I want to give like a really, I hope that doesn't like cause
I do
people's.
want to give a caveat for
Go
those
ahead.
people who are Black in this country and do not, politics, it's not that we don't want to talk about it. It's just our lived experiences. These folks are not coming to save us. So yes, everything can be political, but we don't even want to engage. I do want to give consent to Black bodies who are not even willing to engage in the conversation on politics when the country that was built on our back refuses to give us reparations, refuses to center pro-Black solidarity and Black liberation. So I do want to give this caveat that if you are a Black person and you are like, nah, F politics. Hold on to that if that is what you believe.
And what does that what does that mean then?
It's not. So for me as a Black woman, I would actually say to you, like, actually, it's really not your business what it means, because until you live the Black experience, and here's where caste comes into play, because there are some Black folks of caste that will say, yes, everything is political. But when you were born in the hood to a single mom on the south side of Chicago, ain't nobody thinking about politics like that, because we've seen what they have and have not done for our communities. We become our own politics, but sometimes we don't call them politics. So I can't give meaning to something that's a lived experience, if that's helpful. But what I will say is that I want to give Black folks permission to opt out of the conversation if they really are like, we don't do politics. Now, that's where caste and class comes, where someone with maybe a college degree or who's been an activist for a long time from different caste and class, or even the same background, poor, low income, may want to use that language. But for the folk who don't want to associate with the word politics or this being a political journey, I think if you're Black with a certain lived experience, we shouldn't be like everyone, because a lot of Black, like, no, that's not our fight. You know what I mean? It's like
the best that I can. I understand that, and I also think that kind of makes my point, is because
I have to disagree with you, because
okay.
you don't live with anti-Blackness.
No, well, I have anti-Blackness, right?
Well,
Like,
but you're not on the other end of it.
On the other end of it, yeah.
So until you live in the Black body and you know what it's like to have your local politicians make promise to you and lie to you to get a check, until you know that lived experience, Black folks saying we don't do politics, I think we got to respect that. Now, how we get a group of people that got like reparations and not even then. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm missing where you are.
Yeah, no, and I love that you bring this up, because the reason why I felt like it sort of makes the point, and that maybe that wasn't the right way to say that, is because I think by couching everything in, not everything, but when people talk about political issues, it does often leave a lot of people out of the conversation, because even political issues have been couched as only certain things. And that's why I kind of want to go back to what I was saying earlier about how everything is sort of put in place by different institutions and organizations, and we're all kind of living in that system, right? Yeah. From our water bill and our grocery bill all the way up to First Amendment and Second Amendment rights. Yeah. So that, like, to hear, and I want to make sure I heard you correctly, that how I heard that was a lot of Black people don't want to engage in politics or conversations around politics because they never felt like they've been considered in that system or part of that system. Did I hear that correctly, or is there anything you want to correct?
Okay. Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah. And I totally makes sense to me. And that all the more reason why I would love us to get away from saying that this is like, let's talk about politics.
Yeah. Because, okay, got it. So how do we get away? Because then my other question then starts to become, and this was inspired actually by another thought on Instagram. Do you think white people talking about politics is to avoid talking about white supremacy?
I don't want to presume what other white people think. I would just stick with my experience. For me, that doesn't feel true. It might be for other people, because I feel like one of the reasons I've gotten so interested in this issue is because everything is connected. the white supremacy, the caste systems, oppression, economic oppression, everything is all connected, right? So for me, that doesn't feel true, but for other white people, it might very well be true. I'm not going to speak for all white people. I have no idea. I want to give an example that might kind of help drive the point home a little bit, that will actually come around to, I think, the work that you do, which is, and I can just see people's heads exploding. So please bear with me in making this point. Big hot button political issues are a lot of what people want to avoid talking about. Like they don't, for a number of reasons, which again is absolutely okay. And I want to make just a side note here on something before I come to this example. There can be a lot of reasons, as you've said, why people don't want to talk about politics. Other people might feel traumatized by talking about politics. Other people don't want to create a rift in their families, their friendships, so they don't want to talk about politics. All valid, and I'm not taking issue with any of that or trying to take away anybody's choice in deciding not to have those conversations. What I want to do is try and invite us into a way of thinking and being in the world that allows us just to have conversations. Okay. So that kind of comes back to my example I want to highlight, which is the Second Amendment and gun rights. Nobody likes talking about Second Amendment and gun rights. They love to get on their soapbox and talk about it and get attention talking about it. Nobody really likes talking about it unless you're a geeky lawyer who loves constitutional law or something and loves to talk about it. In my view, the Second Amendment, and this is not, you are not going to get me taking a side here. This is not what this is about. This is really the key. All conversations that we have labeled as, quote, political are really about emotions and needs, which, as we have learned, is what is addressed through direct compassionate communication. And what I mean by that is, for example, with gun rights, gun control is not about politics. It's not even really about the Constitution. It's about the emotions of fear and the needs for safety and freedom. So, for example, people who want more gun rights have a fear of not being able to protect themselves and a fear of not being able to keep themselves safe. And they have a need of being free to carry a gun and have a gun to protect their need for safety. It's like fear, safety, freedom. People who want fewer gun rights also have a fear of going to school and be shot, going to a movie theater and being shot in their own home by their spouse. They have a fear, and they also have a need for safety and freedom by having fewer guns on the street or no guns in your home or on the street. So there are common emotions of fear and common needs of safety and freedom that I'm convinced both sides have. Now, there's different permutations of that, and there might be different layers. I get that. But as a general matter, I believe the entire gun rights debate is about the emotion of fear and the needs of safety and freedom. And as we know from direct compassionate communication, or nonviolent communication, as some people may know it, how you've decolonized NVC to make it direct compassionate communication, where things fall off the rails is that people have different strategies for wanting to meet those needs of safety and freedom. And that's where we get this whole shit show about gun right debates, is because everybody's bringing different strategies. Nobody's listening to the actual emotion of fear that both sides have. I mean, like say both sides, but that everybody who wants to talk about gun rights has a fear, all because they have unmet needs of safety and freedom. So, but because it's been couched as a political conversation, nobody wants to fucking talk about it. Oh, I can't hear you all of a sudden. I lost you on.
Oh, I think I muted myself. So here's where I'm going to stay curious. For those of you who are like, what's direct compassionate communication? Drop a link. You can go to directcompassionatecommunication.com and learn about it. So is the conversation not just everything is political? Is the conversation there's something that you just said because you brought in direct compassionate communication. Is it stop using politics as that excuse to avoid hard conversations.
I think that's a big part of it. And I don't want to use the word excuse,
Not
but
a, yeah,
I think we have a natural discomfort, understandably, for a lot of different reasons, to not wanting to have quote unquote political conversations. And that just goes to show we don't know how to have conversations in this country at all, period. Like, it's not just politics. We don't know how to, we don't know how to communicate, which is why direct compassionate communication is so important. So my, like, sort of my bottom line here, like the big point, is that instead of looking at these as political conversations, first of all, just embrace, like, get over the term. And I don't mean that in a demeaning way. Like, if we want to just embrace that everything is impacted by, touched by politics, everything is, there's no way around it. So let's stop resisting that. Instead, let's focus on having conversations that actually connect and rehumanize people. So if you sit down at the Thanksgiving table and you don't want to talk about gun control because you know you and Uncle Joe do not agree, I get that. And that is absolutely okay. And as we know in direct compassionate communication, one of the first rules is that if you can't connect and have compassion, like if you can't have a connecting conversation, just be quiet and self-empathize. Take care of yourself first and take care of what's coming up for you first before you contribute to the cycle of violent communication, disconnecting communication. So maybe you don't have that conversation with Uncle Joe, but it will be because you haven't learned direct compassionate communication, or you're still learning how to self-empathize. It'll be for that reason.
Yeah.
Not because you didn't want to have a political conversation with him. But then if you do want to have the conversation with him, then we can start talking about, well, what's really important to me? Like, what are my needs around this? Like, what do I value?
I think I'm really struggling, Michele, with the use of political. Mm-hmm. I'm not really sure where it's coming from, but the more I'm here, like hearing you talk, I think I'm hearing one thing. I'm hearing what you're saying, but it's translating differently in my brain. And I don't know if that's because I've never really like say, oh, you're using that label because you're avoiding politics. Like, yeah, I don't know. My brain is like in like some sort of interesting space. I'll say that.
Glitch?
I don't know if it's glitch. I'm not like, I'm to keep it real with everyone. I'm not like, I understand everything is political, and I understand the idea is you may have more too. If we stop putting the word political and just communicate, we might have more real conversations.
Mm-hmm. And here's the pisser. And I was playing with this in my head today too. When you start to look at things from the perspective that there is no black and white, A or B, like no duality,
mm-hmm.
the more I think about everything is political, the more I'm like, actually, nothing is political. We've just labeled it all as political. We've created these systems of politics.
My brain is like, wait a minute. Wait, this is all, everything in this system is made up from some old dude's imagination. Yes,
it's all made up.
Even like, I'm like, what are we doing? Like, what are we saying? Yeah. Like, what are we like trying to get the folk to understand?
It's all political and none of it's political.
It's all political, none of it's political. And would you mind if, I think Tanya has some questions. Would you mind if she joined live and asked her questions?
Yeah. No, I don't mind. Yes, come on.
It's okay.
That's the thing I was thinking about today. I'm like, actually, the pisser is that none of it's political. It's just all made up bullshit. And it's made up to keep us disconnected from ourselves and other people.
Yeah.
So let's actually figure out how to have meaningful, connecting conversations instead of saying, I don't talk about politics. Right?
Okay, got you. It's not that you don't talk about politics. You just don't have the skills to have hard conversations.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, and even even taking the charge out of, I got to have this political conversation. Like, that is a charge to it. Let's like either say everything from going to the bathroom in the morning to gun rights is a political conversation, or saying none of it is political because it's all just a made up system of individuals. So let's just connect on an individual level. Like pick one of those. But yeah. Hi, Tanya.
Hi. I'm just over here making water with vitamin C and listening to you all and tidying my kitchen. This is riveting. And I'm sorry, I've been really chatty in the comments because
Don't
I have all
apologize for
these
that.
thoughts. Well, okay. Thank you for being cool with me saying a couple things. Something keeps popping out in my mind, right? Which is, I've been talking with some friends lately about how, like, just how amazing it feels to be silly and have joyful moments with certain people, with people who can talk about real things, whether we call it politics or not, which is sort of where I'm getting to, but we don't have to, but we can. We don't feel like a burden for bringing up real stuff, but we also don't have to, as opposed to the way I feel when I'm trying to sort of have a pleasant time with someone who will not go there, which is, I think, what you're trying to talk about, Michelle, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is like, time with someone who will not go there. And, Maisha, jump in here if I'm off, but I can only speak to like there's some things that sort of impact me in the world that don't impact some people in my family, say, or some of my friends. Some of it's related to living in the US and they're in Canada. Some of it's related to me being a queer person. Some of it's related to me being Antifa, which I think we all should be because it just means anti-fascist. But and a lot of it has to do with me being Jewish, right? And so to me, those things don't necessarily feel for me like politics. I wouldn't name them politics. It's just life stuff that me and some people who share those similar experiences in life have to talk about. Like we just have to.
Yep.
And I think a lot of those issues, and I'm just going to speak for myself, that impact me, that don't impact other people, the people who they don't impact call it politics.
Yep.
So sometimes when I just want to bring up, and I have emotions a little bit in my throat right now in saying this, but sometimes like when I just want to bring up something going on in my life to someone who doesn't have that shared experience, I'm received with, I don't want to talk about politics, or I'm not political. I don't want to, and I feel like a burden.
Yeah.
And so, Maisha, I'm not sure if that's, what you were sort of getting at earlier. And it's also, I get it. It's not really my business and you don't have to define that. But I just wanted to say how I was empathizing personally, like a little as to what I can. Because I was like, I'm feeling something in my body and I want to speak to it, right? In terms of how, like what it brought up for me. And it was this, is that like, and the idea of we, right? Like when you say we, I don't know who you mean. You know what I mean? Like I think everyone needs to be pretty specific when we're talking about people, right? In terms of like, rather than we, like I'm looking over how to write a book proposal right now. And one of the main things it says is don't say we in the language that you use, because it tells the publisher that you don't know who your audience is, that you're not clear, and then maybe your book won't sell. Do you know what I mean? Like there's got to be a specificity, because some of the we's that you were saying I didn't relate to is part of the we.
Can you give me an example just so I can track that a little bit better? Because I want to try and connect with what you're saying.
Totally. Like we need to, well, just the thesis, I guess, of like we need to be like more, I guess, comfortable or less avoidant of being of talking politics, right? But like my mind goes to, well, but politics is defined by whom? Because sometimes I'm just talking about my life, right? And someone else is going to call that politics.
Yeah.
Like as
I
a queer
love,
person, my identity is politicized, but I'm not making a political statement just walking down the street, breathing or holding a lover's hand. You know what I mean? But it is political to someone else.
yeah. I
Does
really
that make
appreciate,
sense?
yeah, I really appreciate you explaining that, Tanya. And I hear that sort of the burden, you mentioned the burden that
Yeah.
brings up to you, to feel like just your normal life issues are a burden to talk with other people about because they view it as political. And so you feel almost
Like
like
I
your whole
think
life has been politicized.
I just think for folks who are just living this sort of
Mhm.
politics that you think we shouldn't be, that you're saying, you know, that we shouldn't be avoiding, like,
Can I
yeah,
clarify that? Because I'm glad you repeated that back to me, and that's, you pointed out that that's what you
that's
heard.
how it landed, but
Yes.
maybe that's not what
So
was,
I want
yeah.
to clean up that language because I don't have any control over how things land for people, and I want to make sure that I'm precise in my language. So what I am saying is that, first of all, I'm not telling anybody to be comfortable about talking about politics. What I want to recognize, number one, is that as your example has pointed out, labeling things as politics, basic life issues as politics, has created a discomfort around having some of these conversations. And that for various different conversations, different reasons. So by just the mere label of things as politics has created an inability for us to be able to engage in connecting conversations.
So then that takes me to the place of like, what if we were to get like, okay, and then I'm going to shut up, but what if we were to get like really, really specific of what we mean when we say we should talk about politics, or we should,
Well,
like, as in, like, I think people should talk about whiteness more, or white people. I'm going to
yeah.
get specific. White folks, I think, need to talk about our white culture more, and
Mhm.
that could be called politics, but it could also just be like sometimes I want to talk to people about like how my whiteness or just white culture, just what it did to me that day.
Yeah. I want to be very clear. I am not saying that, and this is me trying to really clarify my language. So this is good to hear you say this back to me because it tells me that I haven't been clear in my language. I am not saying that we should be comfortable talking about politics. I want us to excise politics from our vocabulary, essentially, because I want us to be comfortable. My biggest hope is that we could be comfortable having conversations about what matters to us. And I believe that the label of politics has taken that away. So I'm not saying we should be comfortable having political
Oh, it's
conversations. I
like we're
don't want
saying
to
the
say
same
that at all.
thing.
Yeah, this
We're
is where
all
I like told Maisha, the pisser is that it
we're
comes
all
back full circle. It's like none of it's politics and all of it's politics. So fuck the label of politics. Let's talk about the things that actually matter to us
Oh
and
yeah,
connect to each
we're
other.
totally saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are. It's hilarious.
You guys just said
Okay.
it better than I did. So yeah.
No, this is
No,
not
it's not
a
even about better. It's just like at first I was like, wait a minute, where are we going?
okay.
And then I
What's the
wait.
lesson? Like where
I
where
don't
did
know.
well
What's
just
the lesson?
just
Yeah,
wait,
that's
because
a
we're
great
all
question.
people who want to, like, we're
Mhm.
genuinely curious and want to understand. So there's
Right.
something we can model here, right? Because
Yeah.
there's breakdowns that happen. I was almost going to say to you, Michelle, I was almost going to ask you, like, what's happening for you right now in your nervous system? Because
Uh-huh.
I felt you getting defensive. But then
Oh,
I'm like, Tanya, just wait and deal with your own nervous system.
yeah.
So I did. And because I did that, I paused when agitated. It's a 12-step thing that I love. I'm not in
Mm.
12-step, but I love that phrase. Because I did, I think I heard you more clearly
Mm.
and realized and I was able to feel my own humility a bit more to be able to say that to you. But, and then you were able to hear me, and now we're all laughing. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
what is it here that was modeled by, I think, all
Direct,
three of
compassionate
us?
communication.
We just did direct compassionate
Oh,
communication.
am I doing it?
Yeah, you're doing
Oh,
it.
okay, cool.
Yeah, what we practice in our community, we actually just modeled
Okay.
it for strangers on the internet.
Okay,
Mhm.
well, thank you for letting me be accidentally part of that.
I'm so grateful to you for being a part of that. And I didn't feel defensive. Actually, I'm a former lawyer, so I get very animated about, I mean, like excited, and my mouth can't keep up with my brain. So,
It,
so this was like such a tremendous opportunity. And I'm so grateful to you for coming on and sharing all of what was coming up for you, because it gave us all a chance, and especially me, to be clear in my language. So thank you for that.
yeah, and you were, and I get it. And thank you for letting me come on, and hopefully it got cleared up for anybody else who was feeling what I was feeling. But there was some projecting going on, and I'm going to go sit with that now.
Mm.
Well, it's
Okay.
interesting because one of the things, Tanya, when we used to come to DCC is like, am I doing it? You just did it. You've been doing it this whole time. I think it's
Oh,
the steps that people get caught up in, but we actually, if you actually naturally do it.
thank you. I'm just always afraid of causing trouble.
Can I seize on that
Yeah.
point too, by the way? To both of those points. First of all, Maisha, your point about you just naturally do it. Like we're human beings, and granted, people have different neuro abilities that can impact our communication. So I'm just going to take somebody like me, for example. Like, I think as human beings, we have a natural, we are driven more by compassion than we are competition. And so I believe that we are more wired for connection than we are wired for disconnection. And so
Mm-hmm.
we all do naturally have some way of wanting to be able to connect with people.
Unless we're scared, and I think that's what's going on in the world right now, because
Yes.
we've all been marinating generation after generation in like tools of domination, colonialist logics, and everything, right? So we equate safety with domination, competition, power over. And so I think, the more insecure we all feel, like as a people, when I think about that, but, like as individuals, as, different groups, that gets harder, right? When our amygdala gets all
Mm-hmm.
hijacked, gets harder to feel that, right? And that's
Mm-hmm.
nervous system stuff that I know, Maisha, y'all are working on that as well, the somatic parts of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree with you that, like, naturally when our nervous systems are calm, that's where we want to be. We want to connect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was, I forget now that, oh, I did want to respond to the we, if I was kind of trying to track that. And the reason I asked you for an example is so that I could connect the dots in my head. When I say we, first of all, I'm always trying to speak from my experience, but when I say like we in this context, when we're talking about politics and trying to have more connecting conversations about what matters to us, I mean like the collective we, like the country, like the world. Like I wish, that's like my greatest hope for humanity, is that we're actually able to connect to ourselves, which you just did, so that we can also connect to what's alive in other people and have meaningful conversations about what matters to us, so that we can see each other and
What
what
kind of
matters.
lawyer are you?
I'm not anymore.
What did you do? What were you practicing?
I was in
What just happened?
what?
Oh, did I deflect?
No.
No, I just read a comment and I'm like, did I
Oh,
miss something? Keep going.
oh. So
Oh,
I used to be an environmental litigator for the Justice Department.
She had a government gig.
Hmm.
very interesting. Sorry, I have so many questions. I'm gonna go. I feel like I've hijacked the conversation.
This was
Um,
awesome.
but
No, it's
but
great.
but
Anybody
thank
can
you.
join. It's great.
Okay, I'll go deal with my. I don't know why I would do that. Anyway, yeah.
Have fun taking
Thank you,
care of
Tanya.
yourself. Thanks, Tanya.
Bye, you guys. And
Bye.
this is my Canada homesick.
Enjoy.
Bye, you guys.
Bye.
I don't know how to end.
I'll end for you.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. Thanks, Michelle.
Thanks,
You
Tanya.
kick. Oh no, I hope I didn't ban her
No,
from the link in case I go live with her again. Oh geez.
you hope you didn't ban her?
Like there's a setting that I hope I
Oh,
didn't click the wrong button. Jess said that Tanya was a wonderful addition, Tanya, if you're still watching, and that this allowed for more specificity, like literally practicing direct, compassionate communication, showing up messy and human together allows more people to see themselves, I think, in our individual experiences.
so what's coming up for you, Maisha? This was a lot of.
I just want to heal forward. What's coming up for me? You know, really the idea of like right now everyone is scared, everyone is, we're all going through something. um I think, if I were to really consider what's coming up for me, I think it's how do we help people move beyond fear and name things in language that works for them?
Hmm.
That's actually what's coming up for me, because for some people, again, I'm still on this politics, but we both said it, it's just all made up. But how do we just help people name their experience without forcing them to like assimilate under a language or a keyword or like a phrase? Does that make sense?
Say more about what you mean by assimilate under a language or a keyword or phrase.
Let's see. I'm trying to think of. Just give me a second while I get my brain on working. How do we get people to just have compassionate conversations without telling them what they need to do? Like, you need to be talking about politics.
Yeah.
You need to be on a liberation journey. You need to be like, how do we just have hard conversations, or even walking away from conversations that aren't rooted in compassion and humanity? Like, that's somewhere where my brain is right now.
Can I offer my response to that?
Sure.
Which is to come to your direct compassionate communication classes.
Oh, that's true.
In all seriousness, because when we're talking about having, first of all, nobody here is saying, and I'm making this very clear, nobody's saying you should go have conversations. That's one of the reasons why I think I have niched down with you for 5 years, is that some of the Black educators I was following, and everybody has their different approach, and that's totally fine. Yeah.
Hold on a second. I just need to give a caveat because you just said that.
What did I
Michelle's
say?
not triangulating right now by saying some Black educators. She is sharing her lived experience. So if you are a person in a white body and you just heard Michele say, unlike others, we are not othering. She is just sharing. So white body people, pump your brakes and let Michele share her lived experience.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I
because I can already feel that energy of, well, Michele said this about Black educators, and I'm like, pump your brakes.
No, yeah, this is just based on my experience, yes, of some that I was following, where I felt like I was being told I should have anti-racist conversations with every white person that I meet. Okay, that was my experience with some people that I was following, right? And I didn't like that, being told that I should. It created this, it created a lot of things for me. And I distinctly remember some older white gentleman messaged me on LinkedIn to like connect. And because I had it in my head, oh, I need to be having these anti-racist conversations or I'm not a good white person. Like, one of the first questions I asked him was like, what are you doing to be an anti-racist? Like, in hindsight, that was so much I would have done differently about that now. So the reason I say that is because I definitely am not coming from the standpoint of telling anybody you should be having these uncomfortable conversations. Like, but not saying that at all. And I think that's where direct compassionate communication comes in, which is that the number one sort of foundation, I don't like to say rule, but like foundation, is to self-empathize and connect with what's alive in you. And if you don't feel like you are in a place where you can like comfort yourself, give yourself kindness and compassion, connect to what's alive in you and alive in other people in a compassionate way, don't have the conversation at that point in time. Right? Yeah. So nobody is saying to do that. Yeah. So I hope that, let me like put a bow on that. Like, the big takeaway from this is not to get people to go out and start saying, well, I'm just not going to think anything's political, so I'm just going to have all the awkward conversations. Like, the big invitation here is to be able to have conversations about things that matter to us, which is why everything is political. Because at the end of the day, the ability for me to use my bathroom, to buy groceries, to drive a car, to watch TV, to vote, it's all political. And none of it's political because it's all a made up label. So I want to be able to have conversations. And I think Tanya was saying she wants to be able to have conversations. I don't want to put words in her mouth, but what I heard her say is she wants to be able to have conversations with people about things that are important to her, about her life. And that's like my hope for, although, you know me, hope and faith. That's like my wish for people is to be able to have conversations about things that matter to us in a way that connects us to each other, even if we don't agree on the like strategies or what's important.
Yeah. I think that's important. That's all I got. My brain is a little fried. My brain is draining. If you're interested in direct compassionate communication practice, we do it Mondays at 4 and Wednesdays at noon for members who are not a part of our collective. For members who are part of our collective, starting at the end of this month, and then Mitzi and I will be in October. Within your membership, you get direct compassion communication practice. I typically lead self-connection and silence. So I bring a silent meditative practice to direct compassionate conversation. Mitzi leads the embodied direct compassionate communication, and Jen does reflect and request. And I'll probably be doing something with role plays. So just stay tuned for members of the collective. Watch your October updates for events so that you can, sign up and all that.
Thank you. This was fun for me.
Else to add?
I don't think so. I just be curious. Just be curious about use of the word politics, and if it opens you up or shuts you down, if it connects you or disconnects you. And yeah, can we kind of get rid of that word politics while still operating and living in a made up political system?
Well, you got to be in it and not of it. So there's that. And if you're interested in becoming a member of our Heal Your Way Forward Collective, the membership opens up tomorrow, and it'll be open for I think a 3-week period before it closes again. So shameless plug for that. Thank you, Michele, for your time.
Thank you for this opportunity.
You came in hot. I came in like, what the hell? And we made it work. Michele came with the notes. I was like, oh gosh, let me go to my archives.
Sorry, that's just me. Otherwise my thoughts would be a jumbled up mess. I have to, yeah.
Oh, I thoroughly enjoy looking like a hot mess because simulation.
Well, clearly, even with notes, I'm not always clear. So think of what it would be like if I didn't have notes.
So I'd
be like the Peanuts, want teacher.
You prepared in a way that worked for you in this conversation. And I just came in I just walked the Las Vegas Strip. I'm feeling good. And I don't talk about politics.
I have to prepare.
No, I love that. I think that's beautiful. And I'm grateful we went live. We should do this again, Michele, because we get an audience.
We have so many philosophical conversations.
If people only knew what we talked about when we are not on the internet, y'all would be like, what the hell? What would Harriet do more than anything? But
I think Harriet would love this conversation.
Man.
That's my white lady view.
They're not ready for the Harriet conversation, Michele. So let's just leave them on read. But I'd love to see you hang out with me again on a Saturday and let's just talk.
Yeah, this was fun.
This was a lot of fun. Well, thank you guys for tuning in and watching. Again, if you're interested in direct compassionate communication, you are welcome to go to directcompassionatecommunication.com. And if you're interested in joining the collective, that's checkyourprivilege.co. And if you're interested, last one, 3 things of buying a signed copy of Heal Your Way Forward and supporting my campaign of 100 books by Monday. We're gonna do 100. We're almost there. I think we're down to like 60.
Oh, wow.
I'll do the tally and the count.
That's totally doable by Monday.
I mean, come on.
Buy
It's
them as
enough
gifts.
people on
Christmas
all
is
these
coming up.
There's
Buy 'em as
enough
gifts.
people on all these platforms, Michelle. Like, I'm like, come on, what are you waiting for? Anyway, just being dramatic.
And there's my doorbell. So I gotta
That's
go.
it. That's our sign. Thank you all for being here today. Have a great Saturday. I'm going to end stream.
All right, let me go see who's at my door.